Good morning. I titled YouTube this morning. Those are in the green room. Every morning, it'll either just say green room or you can put in some title. So I put in a title every morning. The title this morning was, "Do you ever get tired of the chop?" I do. I've been through it before where, it just becomes painful day to day, the up down whip that goes on. But it does pass. And believe me, it passes. But boy, does it kind of frustrate the heck out of you while it's going on. But nothing we can do about it, and eventually it resolves itself with probably some news item that ignites things one way or another. I turned the news on for a few minutes today before it became nauseating about uh, vaccine mandates and shortages, and what a mess everything is. But we just sit back and wait for it to take its course. All right. So, markets certainly looked like they were heading into the abyss yesterday afternoon, but lo and behold, here they are recovering today. Nonetheless, this is in a downtrend. This is, well, let's call it a sideways trend on the weekly chart. Looking at the futures, we look at different markets, things look different, but just based on the systematic black and white analysis, higher high and higher low pivots. It traded below the prior pivot low, major support. It's no longer in an uptrend. We make it a sideways trend. Right? This broke down past a couple of pivots, and now it's in the process. When this bar completes, the software will mark this as a pivot high, and we'll have lower pivot highs and lower pivot lows. I already mark it as a downtrend since it busted right through multiple pivot lows at one time. So I know you would, McGraw. And, in my commentary over the weekend, I talked about this in the video about this action. And I was like, well, while it sucks for, directional trades, some things are going down, I guess, smoothly, but it's good for credit spreads. If you can find the premium. So there's a different vehicle for each market. I prefer personally things to go in one direction. I think it's more fun, but we don't always get what we want. And so here, kind of caught in a bit of a dilemma in that this daily trend being down. Okay, the assumption is it's going to keep going down. This is sideways, and the end of this week, if we were to get a down bar, well, then I would look or expect it to come down here. On the other hand, if it closes up here, if it can trade above the high. So looking at this daily chart, may I see this and wonder, could this be, a head and shoulders type of a bottom? Well, it might be, but it's too soon to tell. So we're waiting to see if this actually develops into that. And so how far does this retrace into this bar today? Or does it close back near the low? The 5-minute now is trending up. This is sideways to down. The hourly is in a downtrend, and now can this roll back over? So for me to do something, this has to roll back over and break support. I'm still in the middle of nowhere's land, so to speak. As far as these trades goes, I mean, I could certainly trade this long for a little bit, but it's like I kind of compare it to trading in an environment like this is like, am I digging ditches today, or am I going to work in a in a suit or something? A kind of an analogy, and this is kind of like digging ditches. But I said it'll pass. Let's see what else is going on here. So yesterday I talked about momentum, strong momentum. Typically it makes a lower low. And if it's going to make the low, it goes down with slowing momentum. And that's observed, determined by a slower distance between the lows. So, this might come down here and kind of just moves down. And after it breaks through this low a little bit, it begins to make the turn back up. And so just to review, strong momentum. The assumption is it's going lower, and came into what I call the kill zone a couple of weeks ago, which was right into that resistance area between the moving averages. So that's comment is based on the strength of this momentum, which historically sets up a sell setup that's highly reliable. And then it had strong momentum again. Now, the problem here is that it really hasn't retraced far enough. It's too close to this low. And it makes it more difficult for a setup, and meaning, the setup is there, but, to short it so close to the low, the expectation is it's likely to come right back in your face again. And that's what's happening today. We'll see how far it gets. And if this rolls back over on the 5, well, then we can look to short that, and maybe this turns into a red bar. You see what's going on here. Right? Broke the low. Let's spike down. It's holding inside day. We're going nowhere on the weekly chart. Russell, well, you don't need any explanation to really determine that is just going nowhere. Yeah, PD Puck in YouTube saying, I make it simple and play SPY options back and forth. Sure. Now, look, that one thing everybody, whether you're new to the markets or old to the markets, if you're older to the markets, you figure this out over time, and that there are so many different vehicles to trade, right? So there are directional trades, there's directional option trades, there's debit spreads, there's buying puts and calls, there's credit spreads. And as you go through a process of trying to learn all of these things, which is brain damage, and in the beginning, we tend to do that, and we get confused and back and forth till we find out what vehicles we're comfortable trading, what makes sense for us, what we become proficient at, and so on. And just because someone else does something and does it well, that doesn't mean it's something that your nature is kind of, comfortable with doing. So you got to pick and choose what it is. That's what I've learned. All right. So the Dow forming a trading range now, the depth of retracement, almost 100% up, 100% down, pivot high, pivot lows, back and forth. This is broken yesterday, looking for this to roll back over, unless it rallies all the way back up here, right? And then the whole picture begins to change. So we've got this misalignment of time frames and overlapping bars, and recognizing that is a huge advantage. Then, excuse my language, but in another lifetime, I was an auto mechanic. I had repair shop, gas station, whatever. And through my learning process, talking to people with much more experience than myself, and would go to them to hear their wisdom. And this old timer said to me, Greg, that car you're working on, you're trying to do some, whatever it says, you can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit. And the thing was, there are just things that you cannot change. It is what it is, no matter what whatever you're going to try and do. And this market is kind of that way if you're looking for directional trades. And so you either go to another market and trade that, or you stand aside for a little while. Bitcoin, right? Kind of into this red zone area that I marked off, just flipping back and forth here. Like the fact that that topping tail took out the high and came back in, and it didn't follow through. So that's bullish price action. Right? Maybe it gets all the way up to the top there. We shall see. I'll just move that up. But the further this gets extended, we'll see what this does tomorrow. But if today closes with an inside day, right, and it trades under this low tomorrow, that sets up what we call a breakout bar failure. I don't know if that's going to happen, but keep that in mind. We'll talk about it tomorrow. I'll remind you if it actually does happen. So inside day is a narrow range day in a smaller time frame, which makes a base. Then if it trades below it, the breakout starts to become the potentially failure pattern. And this could come all the way back in if that happens. Hasn't happened yet. All right. Oil, maybe it's getting a little tired here, but still looks pretty darn good other than one bar. One bar doesn't change a trend, but it did get rejected on the way up. But bullish price action. This is where it started the move after consolidation. See the dip down and back up again. And close to the moving average, that's going to be a good buy setup. And the further away it gets, well, the greater the probability that it begins to retrace a little bit. But that doesn't mean it's going to violate this uptrend. Gold, does it have a chance? Maybe. Kind of a messy flag kind of a pattern. I know it's in a downtrend, but wide range bar up and just really a mess. It got rejected up here. Too early to tell. This is like snap your neck kind of trading. Silver, still going sideways. Nothing to do there. Bonds, reopening. Right down to the bottom here. So it's up to buyers now to try and take control near this area of major support. And we'll see. But strong momentum, a little less momentum, right? So this bar is developing, but the distance between the pivots, right? Well, that's not a pivot yet, but assuming that this closes green, the distance between those lows is getting tighter. Momentum is slowing. It's in an area of support. We'll see if it can make the turn. Yep. So, transports showed some relative strength at this point where the other markets, most of them made lower lows. This made a higher low, and now it's made a higher high, but still hasn't taken out major resistance, right? Which is defined as the high prior to the lower low. This didn't make a lower low, so this is just kind of making a sloppy, I'll call it a flag, maybe we call it a pendant, whatever you want to call it. It's grinding its way up to that resistance area. And the depth of the retracement is a positive that it's gotten up here. But, is it going to roll back over? Does it go sideways? So kind of back to needing more information. But so still, let's call it a sideways trend, still below major resistance. Going sideways here would be bullish price action. And should we see, this actually begin to create that possibility of a head and shoulders bottom with the transports showing bullish price action, I would have a greater comfort level with thinking, okay, let's go long, with an expectation of this coming up here and maybe going higher. We just don't know yet. That's really the problem. We just don't know yet. There's transports, looking at the cash. Got rejected yesterday. And what else? Just overall, it's the same message. Let's take a peek at internals, which really not telling us much. Breadth is just dead neutral with so many things just flip-flopping around. That makes sense. Sentiment is beginning a bit more bearish, but yesterday's price action, things are up here this morning. That doesn't mean they're going to stay up, but my preference would be for this thing to take out these lows, some blood in the street, option traders loading up on puts, breadth lining up down here, and let's get into the end of the year. It's only October, was it 12th? So middle of the month, coming into the middle of the month, big options expiration stuff coming Thursday. And wait for everything to unfold. In the meantime, we stay out of the mess. Those of you that are enjoying your credit spreads, enjoy it while it lasts. All yours, Dan.
Good morning. Well, Greg, you said there's no directional trades, but I think we've been doing a phenomenal job.
I didn't say
Picking,
no directional trades. I'm talking about versus the market, Dan. I know we find some nice bottoming patterns.
no, it doesn't even have to be bottoming. I mean, we can just go look at all our opens and they're all doing pretty darn well. Both directional long and short. So all I'm saying is, yeah, regardless, when the markets are trending and, it's shooting fish in a barrel of trading with the market. But I'm just saying that we have a great ability to pick stuff that's quality on its own page. So all our opens are fine right now. Don't have any adjustments at all. So let's see what is on our interest list here. There are a couple gappers here I like. This is a climactic buy setup. 5 or more big down bars far from the 20. I love the volume, biggest volume. I mean, think of what volume means. There was a ton of selling going on, but there was also a ton of buying going on. Sure, it was still a lower low, lower high, so it's still in pain. And we're just waiting for the turn. Could it happen today, tomorrow, 10 more down days? I don't know. But today we have a bullish gap up into this real body with a beautiful 15. So I posted this just for starters, 30-minute high, both a directional long and a Friday out of money put spread. But that's what we do. Just put it in a window and let's see what it does. So I like that one a lot. It's a gap trade. This MATX is gapping over 3 weeks of consolidation. So even though the 20 MA was rolling over, 50's up, and now all this consolidation is support now. So that's on my interest list. Pan W here, I already posted. We found this one yesterday scanning. Look at this. Gap up, very little tail. Bullish price action, red bars ignored, downside shakeout, relative strength. Look, the market got ugly into the close. This thing didn't budge. So yeah, absolutely. I get this as it's all-time highs, weekly, monthly. So yeah, I already posted the Jacopo was asking about it, but yeah, we're a step ahead of you, Jacopo, today. It's already posted. This HCA, we're short. Looks good. I'd really like it to accelerate a little bit lower, and then I can tighten the stop. RRD, big gap up, 638, but it's gapping on this prior high. I don't know what the news is, but that's a shock gap for sure. Thomas, MGM. Tom, I'm a step ahead of you guys today. MGM, I already posted, Thomas. It's another gap trade. Gap over this topping tail. This is a bull kind of rectangle, flagpole, trading range, rising 20, 50, 200, bullish weekly. So absolutely, but it's already on the list. I gave it 30-minute high. Here's another one, another gapper. So there's actually a few very nice gap trades today. Here's one, Airbnb, gapping over yesterday's bar, got an upgrade. Still has this tail to deal with, but 30-minute high, 30-minute high. I like as a this put spread. Thomas is asking about GoTo. Thomas, you're the one that emailed me yesterday on that. And I gave you this, I gave you the green light. It was right in here. And I posted it to our subscribers right there, and the thing just took off. I didn't make it official because I said if it closes strong, and it's unfortunate when they just keep ripping, and we should have got in a minimum a half lot. See if you can get a 1, 2, 3. Percentage wise, it's up a lot. You're asking about Microsoft. I see absolutely no quality pattern there. I have no idea what you're looking at. It's just a big mess. QTRX, bullish gap. But see, there's a big difference on this one versus PAGS. I mean, this could set up for day trade, but 2 days ago, that was an igniting breakdown. Compare that to PAGS. See, this one is much further from the 20. So this is a superior gap trade versus whatever I just said. TAN. We were watching for a reversal here on the weekly. This is a solar. And yesterday it came out flying. So we actually got into Fizzler. Looks great. We're long stock, short put spread. CVAC gapping down. That was a quality gap breakdown right here. Gapping under this consolidation and a downtrend, no bounce. That would have been a 5-minute low trade. This thing's gapping up 10%. It's gapping up a lot. That's another bullish gap. Let's keep an eye on it. Square got an upgrade. There's a little price void there, but not interesting enough for me. There's the Matex we talked about. Trex got a downgrade. This is a quality sell setup. I obviously didn't see it. A downtrend rally and reversal at resistance in the 2050. That was a nice sell setup. So the MGM is right here that we talked about. It got an upgrade. LUB. Yeah, it is bullish price action right now. LUV, Southwest still having their troubles with the massive cancellations yesterday. But the positive of this is the volatility on the gap down sell-off spikes. So, let's see if it can stabilize. And then we possibly have a put spread candidate. Cody, Greg, you mentioned yesterday, this looks great. A nice bullish retest at the 52 consolidation bars. It's a little extended here on the 15, but that still looks great. NTAP looks great. I set an alarm at 92.20 already. PANW, we already talked about. GoTo, we talked about. AMD, kind of top of the range, but I'm going to keep an eye on that for a put spread. Adobe, I'm watching for a put spread, gapped up from a climactic. I have up and down alarms. We'll see which one goes off first. JR, it's gonna be about life. Yeah, this is what we call the turn, TURN. So it made the turn, has a price void, gapping up to 987. So put it in a 5-minute window. And oh, my Adobe up alarm just went off. Put it in a window and see how it sets up. But yeah, target 11. Matul, any still good to hold? Matul, I'm gonna change the question around in our green room, obviously. So we have more time to talk later in detail. But instead of me answering you, I'm gonna change the question around and say, I see a small gap down, of course, but what concerns you to ask, if it's still good to hold? So the answer is yes, it's fine. But we'll talk about it in greater detail once we get going here. E and Z. This is one I've been waiting for a pullback because I saw it too late, but daily, weekly, monthly look great. AON made the turn here. Set an alarm yesterday's high. Roku is still a pending trade over last week's high, a put spread. Looks totally fine if it triggers. Watson Tower, that's a beautiful consolidation. That's good to go over last week's high. Make sure I got my alarm set. Yeah, it's still set. I don't want to miss this one. Looks good. Mara, these that's was a nice little continuation pattern with a Bitcoin moving. C-Day, this was a bullish price action at resistance and then gap breakout. So I want to see how far this retraces and then watch the reversal. Nike upgrade this morning, maybe worth a put spread. There's no pattern yet, Austin. It's gapping up here to yesterday's high. There's no significant support. It's a sell setup at the 20. So I can point to a dozen other stocks that have superior patterns that I've been talking about here for the last 10 minutes. Stephen, 4. It's too late. You're getting on board a moving train. If it sets up as a continuation pattern on the 15, it's fine, but just recognize you totally missed your ideal setup. Yeah, Tesla looks good, gapping to yesterday's high. Yeah. Yes, Thane, and I know you love selling credit spreads, so I'm assuming that's what you're talking about. So yeah, 30-minute high. Looks great, Thane. Let's see if it can hold these gains. It's right at the area where it's gotten smacked down with these tails up here. But yeah, I like it. So anyway, Thane, based on retracement, see it's still gapping down, but in the upper third. So, as long as 50% retracement holds, so, the danger zone is going to be under 750. So, it's worth keeping an eye on, but, answer your question, we just got to sit with it right now. But Tesla, yeah, I like Tesla a lot. So, it's 9:30 and 10 seconds. So we obviously cannot do nothing. And the markets are, the 4 index horsemen here are under the open, which means selling. So we're just chilling out, looking around, sectors, markets, my usual suspects. Banks still weak. They sold off yesterday. Look at that. That's an ugly reversal at all-time highs. I don't know what caused that, particularly ahead of, banks coming out this week. I see Goldman here weak. JP Morgan gap down. These all-time highs are getting rejected. TBT. Yeah, that's short-term climactic, that's for sure. All right, Adobe. Still nothing. GWA